Start. It is 10 o'clock. Mr. Ivacek is not going to be able to attend this morning, so I will chair the meeting in his stead unless there's any volunteers. Hearing no volunteers, we will move on. So yeah, real quick, we got brand new microphones. Other than push the button on the right to talk, and it'll light up, and I think you can hold it down. All we ask is if you're not talking, to please, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone, and vice versa. So I'm sure what we'll hear, for a few meetings going forward is please turn your microphone on. Any other things we need to know about the mics, Adam? Okay.
I don't think they're waterproof, so you might want to be careful with your drink around them.
Well, and we also have a brand new podium. So when folks, like especially when we have consultants giving presentations or somebody from the outside, we're going to actually have a podium now that they can stand at and speak with its own microphone and everything. So we're getting there, small steps. Moving on ahead, item 1, open meeting and corrections to the February 5th meeting notes. Were there any corrections to those notes? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item 2, water precipitation and drought update. Mr. Telfer.
Yeah, just really quickly, if we can go ahead and scroll down, and that bullseye continues to grow. Next slide. Next slide. I know that a number of you probably get this email from GBRA. I just wanted to note that Canyon Lake is, as of yesterday, 48.4% full. There is approximately 25-30 cubic feet per second going into the lake right now, and there's 55 coming out of the lake. Definitely saw a drop in what GBRA was releasing out of the lake as soon as February 1st hit. And so they went from about 65 CSF down to 55 CSF coming out of the lake. And then as far as precipitation is concerned, there really hasn't been a whole lot that's worth noting, especially up in Kerr County, where we really need it the most. And that's it for the drought report. Any questions or comments?
I'll repeat, what happens at stage 5?
Man, that scares me. I know that stage 5 is emergency conditions under GBRA, and I'm not really for sure. I'm going to have to look into that.
Does GBRA know?
I don't know if they know.
We'll follow up on that and see what we can find out, Mr. Fonville.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions on item 2? Well, we will move on to item 3 for general construction and design projects and the construction committee report. Mr. Rohan.
Okay. Apologize. Last month I didn't have notes for well, but I think I did an okay job getting ready. This time I have my notes. So starting with the sanitary sewer transmission line, nothing more on that part of the project. The sewer road has some request for information from some middles that UEG is reviewing. The contractor does have a vendor to provide the pipe and is working on it.
Will you turn on your microphone? Thank you.
That's my job to tell people to turn mics on. Thank you, sir. Okay, on the 15-18 part of the transmission line, we're just waiting on revegetation. Still trying to get some documentation on the work that has to be done outside of the easement. The contractor, you may remember, did a little bit of work outside of Canyon Regional's easement that has us a bit concerned. We want the property owner to acknowledge that things are restored back to
what they expect to see. We're continuing to provide notices to the contractor, 30-day notices to the contractor, and we're way past completion date on this project. And then on the I-10 conflict, they thought that the plan review would be done by the end of last week, along with the TxDOT agreement. Has staff gotten the draft of the TxDOT agreement? Okay. So we're still waiting on that. And then that project is funded in this year's budget. And then on the Hayes-Caldwell pipeline, it's about 4,800 feet. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, 4,800 feet of 12-inch. 4,800 feet of 12-inch on 1984. The CRWA has the plans, but there may be some design changes based on the easement acquisition. I believe there's 8 total parcels on that Brud and Texas Land and Right Away has been working on. Some have indicated they may be a little more difficult than others. And so Richard Gallegos is the engineer on that project. He's ready to make alignment changes if needed. He does expect about 4 months of construction time. If there is a change in alignment, he doesn't think it'll be any substantial increase in cost. Okay, I rattled off these projects pretty quickly. Do y'all have any questions on 3A, A through D? Thank you. And it makes that meeting sound so short. Yeah.
Yeah, so all 3 plants, Lake Dunlap, Wells Ranch, and Hayes Caldwell, were all under what we did last year as far as production goes in February. You scroll down to the next slide, you can just see the numbers there, how much we've used thus far. Sitting fairly well, I would say. Then the next slide, as far as the trending goes, you can kind of see that trending is the same for all 3 plants. However, we will see that trend line come up as we continue through the year. But it is a good sign that we are under what we were in 2023 in terms of production. The next slide. The next few slides are just the monthly use for each entity. And you can see where everyone's at. And that's pretty much it for this report. Are there any questions or comments?
And so moving forward, at the last regular board meeting, Adam and Chelsea talked a little bit about the plan for curtailment, and they mentioned the pro rata plan. We're going to be talking some more to the board about that at the meeting on Monday, because we're going to have to start, getting into these warmer months. We're going to have to start setting operational controls to make sure that we're kind of trending with our historical use. Otherwise, we're going to get to the end of the year and we're not going to have enough water for everybody. So we're just going to bring that back and kind of talk about some of the complications with the GBRA curtailment plan and how we're having to do our curtailment plan to be able to meet those goals, and just make sure that everybody's on board and comfortable with moving forward that way.
Hey, Kerry. So
Sure.
question on that one, right? So is it gonna be on the agenda for the trustees Monday to talk about?
Yes, sir.
So philosophically, I got a problem with that. And the problem is that we're talking about curtailing water. We're going to talk about it for the first time to the trustees, right? And the board of managers hasn't decided or looked at or made recommendations on the best way to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to trot something out in public in front of trustees. The trustees are going to go to the mat, go to their corners, and we're going to have a fight. And we're setting ourselves up for it, in Bill's personal opinion, right? I mean, so I don't know about you guys, right? But I run Green Valley. Not my board. I do. You guys do. As general managers, you run your organizations. We make recommendations to them. They approve it within their statutory ability to do so. Until if we keep trotting things like that in front of the trustees, we're going for more of the same, I mean, so I'm concerned about it, right? Because we go in there and we say, okay, we're going to curtail, we have to make operational changes, but the folks that operate it don't know what those changes are until we tell the trustees. I'm not okay with that.
Well, you want to talk about it right now?
I do. I mean, let's
Okay.
talk about it now.
Yeah, I want to echo your sentiments. And those of you who've been here a long time know I get on my soapbox and talk about the board of managers. Y'all have heard me say it many times. The board of managers, the whole purpose is to better inform their individual trustees on items that are coming up.
Sure.
And we can't do that if we don't talk about those issues here. So I think you're absolutely right. We should talk about some of these things here. Again, all the board of managers is able to do is provide a recommendation, but what they can do after this meeting is go back to their trustees and better inform them about what's going on. So the trustees don't come in and say, well, I've never operated anything. I have no idea how this works and not quite sure how they want to move forward.
I mean, so that's totally my point. And this, in my view, this is a complicated issue. It's a complicated issue because each one of us has got different amounts of water from different sources. Not all of us are affected by GBRA. They're not. We're talking surface water out here in Dunlap. We have Wells Ranch. We have other sources. I mean, so what we have to figure out is operationally, how do we balance the system to make it work so we don't have to impact those that only have surface water or they don't have as much groundwater. I mean, so there's ways to do it. I mean, so I'll tell you guys right now, I actually have some more surface water from GBRA that I would be willing to help offset, CRWA's impact right to their curtailment. Now, the bad news about that water, it's 1,000 acre feet. The bad news about it is I'm already taking a curtailment on that water, for our curtailment plan, made direct with CRWA. So it's not like all 1,000 acre feet would be available. And, and there's also the point that, that it does cost me money, right? I mean, so we have to figure out a way to not, to make myself whole, but I would be willing to do that to help it, work. So what I would rather see, right, is if we could figure out, an actual recommendation from the board of managers that would work operationally before we just tell the trustees, I think that would be the better approach. And I think there's a lot of space there. I mean, so if I curtail by 15%, I've got probably, 700 acre feet to deal with, right? That would offset a lot of the curtailment impact, on paper, but that's what we're talking about is on paper, right? I mean, so that's what I think we should do, if that makes any sense.
We don't have an action item on the agenda for this, only a discussion item, right? We're talking about for the board of trustees. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that water assigned to this take point yet?
So no, so that water is essentially, it's raw water. It's Lake Dunlap raw water. I mean, so when Adam's doing his, paper water drill, we could count that in inventory, and use that for curtailment. We could do that. I mean, as long as it's not being treated, it's not running through your plant, but it's in the inventory, right? 1,000 acre foot raw water. I pay for it every, month, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so others have the same thing. If we could figure out a way here operationally to take the impact on our paper water, which I hate that term. You guys know I hate that. But if we take the impact there, then we're not physically impacting treated water that's running through the plant. I mean, we could have a solution that's better for the whole,
Yeah, and you've got other entities also apart from Green Valley that have paper water, if you will, or water that has not yet been developed.
Yeah.
That is available out there in Lake Dunlap. I know Crystal Clear has some, Marion has some, so Cibolo does. Yep.
Have some raw water. So it's just raw water is what it is.
Just raw water.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess the question then would be, is this a Band-Aid or is this the fix? So it's only a matter of time. And then what do those projections look like?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
So that would be part of the broader conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it is truly a Band-Aid, but it's something that could, since we don't know where the stages are going for GBRA, I mean, presumably it's going to go up. It's probably not going to go down forever, hopefully. Right. I mean, we get some rain at some point, but I don't know.
And they don't know. I think they're still trying to work it out. GBRA is still trying to figure out what the best way to move forward. And Adam, I mean, you could probably speak to this more than anyone. GBRA is trying to figure out, best practices for them and their water
Oh.
allocations. and
Yeah,
consumption and curtailment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been kind of a figure this out as we go type of thing. That's the way GBRA's kind of handle is it's like, for instance, the curtailment plan. They really couldn't give me a good outline to follow for the curtailment plan. So they just said, turn yours in and we'll see if it's good enough, basically. So that's what we did.
So
And
what
they
we did for mine, I don't know about you, Jacob, what we did for mine, right? Since I'm not using this raw untreated water, laying it dunk Lake Dunlap until it flows down the river, they just took 15% per month, right? So they just said, okay, so my curtailment plan was a, Excel spreadsheet that had like my total and 15%. That was it. And they sent it back to me and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I said, okay. I said, okay, because it didn't matter, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to my operation. So, I mean, if that's the extent of what they're doing, why couldn't we just do something else?
Well, and so I guess the other point is the way we did ours is similar. It's right. We have enough water, we can still take it. But if we still get into stage 4, now we're mandating restrictions. Yeah, because we're still able to provide the water, even if we don't go into any stages, right? But and even if we got into stage 5, I think we'd still be okay. But the problem is when we go tell our public that, hey, we need you to draw back your water usage, and then we're gonna potentially even put fines on that if you're using water outside that, because that's what our levels say. We need to make sure that whatever we're asking our public to do is, yeah, I don't want someone to come up and be like, well, you don't need to do this, and come back and look at our numbers and be like, you don't need to do this. You don't need to be restricting us. But that's what we're doing because we're trying to conserve that water. So
Are you guys still at stage 3?
we are still at stage 3. We haven't
We
hit.
are too. I know Lavernia went to stage 2. Right. I don't know why they did, but they did.
It's just our different stages. Our first 3 stages are voluntary.
Well,
Stage 4 is mandatory.
yeah,
That's where it changes.
I don't know what the solution is, right? But I do know this. I've got 1,800 acre foot of water from Lake Dunlap. So presumably that's surface water from Lake Dunlap, treated water from CRWA. The balance of my water is not Lake Dunlap. I mean, it's Wells Ranch. I mean, that's what it is. So if GBRA goes to stage 4, okay, that's shocking and everything, but it doesn't really, impact. I'm not going to stage 4 because GBRA goes stage 4 because most of my water is not from, surface water through Lake Dunlap. I mean, so at the end of the day, I'm saying it's a very complex issue. And, if we try to roll it in front of the Board of Trustees as a discussion topic, and we don't at least have a good understanding with us who run our systems, we're just opening ourselves up for an argument and a misunderstanding. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if we have to have another separate meeting to talk about how we attack curtailment of water, we're going to have to, for those for those ones that are affected, because otherwise we're going to walk into an ambush is what I call it. Right. I mean, folks are going to be angry. They're not going to understand. And it's going to be a problem for us. I mean, that's all I'm saying. So maybe can we do an agenda item like next Board of Managers or do we do a standalone meeting? Something. Yeah.
Well, I think it would give everyone the opportunity to really look at what they have, look at their water, and then know what's best for their community. And then we could talk about it as a whole.
Well, I think it sounds like this water, being needs to identify how much of that water top of it, and clears, the deep green valleys,
Right.
Ciblos,
Mhm.
find out what that means and have those discussions with those streams.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that chart right there kind of says it, right? I mean, if you're, so like the lakes down there, Wells Ranch, South Carolina, it's not broken out, but I mean, like, look, I mean, where's the, I mean, the majority of my water, I can tell you, is 1,800 acre feet only is surface water. The rest of it's like, Wells Ranch. I mean, so I guess I pose the question differently. Why do I care so much about what GBRA is doing? I don't. We spend a lot of time talking about GBRA, right? I mean, but I don't really care if they're curtailing surface water, that is.
And
Well,
it gets
the other-
even more complicated than that because 4,000 acre feet of that water with
Yeah.
San Antonio water system comes from Lake Dunlap, but by contract with Canyon Regional now it must come from Wells Ranch.
Oh, yeah, so it gets more complicated, right? Because we're ipso facto.
Same with you for 100 acre feet of your water, same for me for 1,100 acre
Exactly,
feet of
yeah.
mine.
Yeah,
Believe me, I've been racking my brain over this for the last 3 years.
yeah,
It's a tough one.
well.
And it's not only that, right? The Texas Water Development Board's also requiring these things to be put in place too.
Yeah.
And so we got to have a solution or something that we have that works for our communities individually and as a whole.
Yeah.
But our triggers come off of Canyon Regional's triggers.
Mhm.
So we need to make sure that's right. So.
Yeah.
That's how we stand.
I don't think we should wait until the next board matches to meet on. I think we should have another meeting. Talk into the board.
I agree. I mean, and I think it's high time that we helped Adam, honestly, figure this problem out. And we can't, in my view, we can't just broad axe across the board. Okay, you're not getting this. Okay, that's not going to go over well. Because when you really dig down into it, everyone's source of water is a little bit different. You know, I mean, so I would just feel more comfortable if we know what we're talking about before we go talk about it in a public meeting with the trustees.
And I think even before you get a big group back, you really need to get your couple group back, your Crystal Clear, your Green Valley, and your Cibolo, who have a solution,
Yeah.
and have those discussions on what that solution may cost. You have something to bring back and say, hey, here's how we can reduce this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm willing to do that, right? I mean, 1,000 acre feet land out there ain't doing nothing for me right now. I mean, if we could figure out how, my ultimate goal is I never lose my money, right? I mean, I'm not out to make money, but I mean, there's things that we could do to be helpful, to the cause. I'm all about it, but I'm sorry I sidetracked you, Kerry, but
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
The one thing that we need to remember is, we're going into the 3rd month of a 12-month period that this water's got to be curtailed in. So the longer we wait, the more drastic it's going to hit everybody, because of the flows and stuff. That's another thing we need to keep in mind on all this, so.
Has Canyon Regional officially moved to stage 4?
Well, no, I guess not officially. We, at the last Board of Trustees meeting, Adam talked about the pro rata plan. There's a provision, actually, it's the one consistency maybe in all of our contracts. There's a provision for Canyon Regional to set a pro rata share plan whenever we are faced with restrictions. And so that's kind of what we were doing, because contractually, we are unable to meet GBRA's curtailment plan without doing that. So anyway, we'll have more discussion on it, and
GBRA didn't officially go into their restrictions until February, correct?
But it's over the
Yeah.
end of the year, so
yeah.
we got to still break it up over 12 months. Just so everybody knows, Tuesday of next week, we will have all the programming in place to be able to control flows or set maximum daily flows everywhere at all meter stations. So if we have to get into something, I mean, we're prepared for it on that side of it. But I agree with what you're saying, Phil. You got to look at all this water that's out there and see if they will let us use that stuff. If it's not assigned to this take point, the only thing that I worry about, that they might say something. But yeah, with that, and it's the same way over at Hayes Caldwell at that plant. Same thing there. There's some water that is actually assigned over there, but it's not in the deal to be using yet. So there's ways to, and we've been talking about it internally about trying to do some swapping around and stuff to see what we can come up with to try to keep everybody's flows going.
so like on that, so I think mine is assigned to Dunlap, actually. I'll go back and look at my.
Okay, I didn't know on that one if
Okay.
it was assigned or not.
One last thing I'll say on this is kind of goes on to the problem we've been faced at Canyon Regional for decades now. It's when we build these facilities, we build them to do just this amount without any redundancy and any ability to operate 24/7 like the contracts anticipate. At some point, when Canyon Regional develops a project, it has to develop additional water above and beyond what the member entities are requesting, 5%, 10%, so that they have something in their pocket that helps them offset some of this stuff. Or, I mean, Hayes Caldwell is a great example. You've got, and we'll just make it simple. Every single drop of raw water's got a contract assigned to it. That's not how a surface water plant works, right? There's operational losses, there's transmission losses. It doesn't work that way. We've got to make sure moving forward, these projects have enough redundancy in them. And I'm not talking about building a plant double the size it needs to be, but enough redundancy in it to operate all the time, and enough additional water that can be treated through it to offset these kinds of things. And that's just smart planning for all of us.
Yeah.
So actually on the contract for Hayes Caldwell, there's not enough water to even meet the contracts.
Yes, it's short 10 acre feet.
Any other discussion on item 4? Don't stop now. If you got something to say. Item 5, water treatment plant improvements projects. Brandon, I've got you down for this. You want
Okay. Yeah, and feel free to add in anything else that I may be missing here. Nothing new on 5A. David had reported that Alliance is waiting on some additional information from him for that interconnect. On the strainer part of the Lake Dunlap project, the proposal came in double the amount that we had anticipated. So Garver had done an OPCC and said that it was 1.3 million. We've got a bid, I think, at 2.7 million, if I remember correctly. And so when we actually budgeted for this item, we had only budgeted 900 and I think it was 60,000, something of that nature.
920.
920
Yeah.
for that project. So we've got some cost overruns there to go through. We do think that a lot of those costs could be deferred until the 2026 fiscal year. So maybe another item that just gets budgeted in the next year's budget. Garver did reach out to a couple of the proposers to get some more information on why that cost was outside of our expectations. I think the best way to describe what they referred back to us was, well, things are just more expensive, which isn't a great explanation for something to be double the cost.
Well, and we did meet with the contractor earlier this week on that to just kind of go through it. And he said one of the things is that between the time that, Garver did reach out to the contracting community to get some pricing. And he said all of a sudden that, material costs shot up, especially on the pipelines. And, that was one of the big factors. But that overall is just costs are increasing for everything. It would have been better if we wouldn't have had to have a temporary setup on this. That's part of it. But they are going to go back and see if they can find any savings, or maybe we can reduce the cost, but it would be minimal, if anything. I mean, not enough to get close to what that OPCC was.
We didn't have any discussion from Garver on the membrane design work for here at the plant for Nanostone. And ground storage tank rehab. Are we under design for that, or because I don't think we had anything on the ground storage tank either?
They've given us a scope of work proposal. We reviewed it, and Bobby sent comments back last week. So we'll get a fee proposal now, so we can finalize that and move forward and get going on that design. We do have money in the budget this year for that construction. Well, for the ground storage tanks, not for the membranes.
Questions on Lake Dunlap, or Carrie, anything else you want to add to Lake Dunlap?
No, sir.
At the time of the construction committee meeting, we didn't have the emergency generator project bids in. Those bids came in late last week. I think they came in at 3.8 million.
Yes. Well, so Well, the estimate was 3.9.
4.1.
Or went up to 4.1. So 3.8 million was not the low bid on this project. 1.3 million was the low bid on this project. So we do have to do our due diligence and reach out to this contractor and say, hey, we think you probably missed something here. You know, can you really do this for $1.3 million? Typically in a situation like this, he's going to come back and say, yeah, we missed something. Please let us withdraw our bid and we will do so. You know, the 3.8 million, we are comfortable with, at least initially. They still have to, you know, validate the bid and do the checks and all that. But I can tell you the 1.3 million is not a good bid. So,
Sounds good.
and I'd love if it were.
It'd be worse than the first time.
Yeah.
How many-
Well,
How many bidders did we have?
Just two.
And just refresh me, I'm sorry, how many generators is it total?
Gosh, how many generators?
8? Yeah, okay.
One of them is pulled out. One of them is pulled out of that, but yes, there was 8 generators in the
But
project.
again, this doesn't include purchasing generators. Generators are already on site. This is destructing the deficient work between the generators and the building and putting in the correct size switches and wiring and other things. This, I think, is right in line with what our expert had thought the price was going to be for doing this kind of work. So
Yeah. I don't know, it's just a tough one to swallow.
It is, and you know, ideally, we recover the vast majority of that money through litigation. But we won't know that until January of next year at the earliest.
Yes.
So, you know,
so we have it budgeted, or we put some money aside for this project, hoping to replace those coffers?
my understanding is before my time, it was decided to fund this from the replacements and improvements fund. Which we can, but we're going to be running dangerously low in our replacements and improvements fund. There's a few things that are, you know, a couple things we're already funding this year, and there's a couple of other things that we may potentially be asked to fund for the remainder of this year. So we had a meeting yesterday, and we'll be talking to the full board about, you know, we've been asked to, you know, come up with a funding strategy for some of these projects and how we're gonna address it. Essentially, you know, yeah, we can, you know, some are budgeted, you know, the strainers are budgeted, so we have enough in this year's budget to carry us until the next fiscal year, and we would have to put in money in next year's budget to cover the remainder.
Joan, we may have to have you put a little something together to just show us what is coming in 2026, because there is a lot being juggled. Alliance has a bunch of cost overruns, and Hayes Caldwell has a host of issues of cost overruns on their project. Nanostone improvements here at Lake Dunlap are going to be significant. They're not going to be insignificant. They'll be higher than that 3.8 number, I would guess. You got 3.8 now for the generators at Wells Ranch that we hope we'll get back, but we never know until you do. There's a lot trying to hit us in 2026.
Yes, sir. We talked yesterday, and we're going to be putting together that, you know, that list of what we need to put in the budget next year. There's a fair amount, and there's probably a couple more items that are going to come up by the time we present a draft budget to the group.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
If y'all don't have any more on on Wells Ranch, I'll move on to Hayes Caldwell, the tank construction. We've gotten some, in your packet, you'll see both Ardura and Cobb Finley's reports on the phase 1 part of this project. That concrete tank is curing. They're about to start removing the internal scaffolding that's inside that tank. Their 3-week look ahead had wire winding and shotcrete. Well, actually, that had already been performed by the time we had met at the construction committee. They had a little bit of disruption due to the cold weather. They, y'all have to remind me what they did. Did they put warming blankets on it? What'd they do to help with the curing of the concrete out there?
It had some sort of heating element inside the tank.
Okay, got it. And so the cold kind of had them a little bit concerned. Right now, they're about 3 weeks behind on final completion. On the membrane pilot, that pilot project's still expected for April. Is what we heard at the construction committee. That was Paul, H2O Torre, and Memcor. Is that the other? Yeah. Those are the three people looking to do the pilot. And we didn't have any specific additional information on the membrane filter upgrades themselves. You know, once these pilot projects go through, then we'll know a little bit more of where that design is going to go for the replacement of those filters at Hayes Caldwell.
So one thing I want to bring up to the board of managers. So, you know, this pilot study, by the time it's over, we get TCEQ approval, you know, we're looking at the end of this year, really. You know, you're looking at, I don't know, a few months anyway to finalize design, you know, based on the selected product, advertise it, start construction. What, 18 months of construction, probably, David? Our plant's not going to make it that long. Our membranes, our Coke filters are not going to make it that long. So I think we need to start talking about an additional rental unit. And in my opinion, we won't make it without that. So I think it's something that, you know, we need to start looking into costs and availability. And I don't know if it's something that maybe we just put costs in there and wait until we need it, or, you know, sometimes you can't wait around because these things are, you know, just to keep them available. I mean, at the CRWA meeting last month, that's the one thing that we had to vote on to spend was at least a deposit to keep those units, you know, available. But that's something we need to, you know, consider is going ahead and pulling the trigger to get another rental unit.
Is that out of the would we take that out of the rainy day fund, or would we all have to pony up?
We would have to pony up.
Yeah, the problem with those units are they're, if I remember correctly, Joan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 480,000 a year in rental.
And yeah, home trailer.
Trailer that we have now. I can't imagine them giving us a cost reduction because we have 2 trailers.
I would suggest that staff's internally reviewing whether you need a permanent purchase or a rental for these, and take it to the Hayes Caldwell group and let them know. I mean, the plant can't fail. That's the problem. It's what we've been talking about for at least 3 years now at this point.
Yeah.
So something y'all need to keep in mind if you want to buy one now, we have to go with Paul because they're approved. It would be 1 year on purchase of one, because you got to build from scratch. Some of that is negotiable because we could use our filters inside the unit far up that we're going to use in upgrades or something. But the other thing is, I need to call and see again. There ain't none available even out there right now. If it quit, we're down to 1.7 a day if Coke died out of that plant. So, and I will tell you that they're not going to make it. I don't know they're going to make it this summer. We start pushing. We're keeping the flows down on them right now. There's a second stage that's having a really hard time getting it past DITs. We're trying not to push it any at all. We're keeping up fine now, but as you know, any curtailments start going in, that plant will start picking up. You know, just giving everybody a heads up.
Well, that's the information we need. If we don't have that information, I mean, we don't want, you know, the sky's falling, but we have to know what's going on there so we can help. I've said this privately, and I probably have said it publicly. I'll say it again. I think it's in Kerry's best interest to completely stop this project and just find a temporary solution for the next 3 to 5 years, and then redefine what the membrane project looks like in the future, because it's just such a mess. None of the original engineers are there. None of the original general managers are there. This thing is morphed and continues to morph into just this huge project at Ace Caldwell. And if this isn't going to get them what they need in time, and there's another solution to get them 3 to 5 years down the road and gives them time to find a permanent solution, that's probably their best course of action right now.
If that was a motion, I'd second it. I mean, I'm not even kidding, right? I mean, that is, it's a huge expense that we're parlaying into, and, you know, and the Hayes Caldwell Group's gonna have to look at that. I mean, why are you gonna keep running into the wall? Pause, get a temporary solution in place and do some good research. And that's what I would recommend. I'm with you. You know,
You could go get 3 of these portable trailers that produce 5.1 million a day for less than $6 million.
Yeah, and I think we're anticipating this to be a $15 million project, maybe. I know there's been a lot of numbers thrown around about the membrane replacement at Hayes Caldwell, but I was thinking 15 was the number because it requires building a new building and housing them in. If you've got these temporary units, they're outside the building. Maybe you can then use those temporary units while you replace the components inside, not have to build a new building. There may be some options there for the Hayes Caldwell Group. I mean, I think when you ask the Hayes Caldwell Group this, they're going to say, I wish you were here saying this 2 years ago, because we've already spent $1 million on a temporary trailer. But at some point,
Let's discuss.
Very much.
I want to say, I don't know that Paul even came up.
well, and
Yes, they did.
we need to be fair, and without trying to get into all the Hayes Caldwell issues that we've had, with the contract and with this, the general manager that some of them didn't care for. There's blame to go all the way around. It's not just a Canyon Regional hasn't reacted quickly enough. It's not just that the Hayes Caldwell member entities have, slowed things down, but there's a lot of blame back and forth on there. Everyone needs to shoulder a little bit of this blame. This project got slowed down for political reasons for a while, and that's negatively impacting everyone at Hayes Caldwell. And we really need a good concrete method for moving forward. And that's probably as diplomatic as I can say it, if that's fair.
so I'll add to that, right? If you want me to, what would be really terrific, right? If you could get a temporary solution in place for less cost, right? And then we figure out how Canyon Regional can borrow money as appropriate from Water Development Board, SWIFT funding, or other sources, right? To pay for a permanent solution that's going to last much longer with a debt structure that makes sense. I know that's probably out of the box thinking, but I mean, that would be the way to do it. Stop the bleeding now, get the water delivered now, and let's move to a future where Canyon Regional can stand on its own 2 feet and make business decisions for Canyon Regional. I mean, that's what I would do. But y'all know I'm crazy. So.
No, I don't, that's not all too different from how we would be doing this either way.
Exactly.
It's just the problem we're running into is if staff feels like they can't make it till 2027, which is what the schedule says, which has been a concern. I think I voiced that concern at this committee multiple times. What's the option that doesn't double up their cost? Where they're paying for rental units just to get them one more year to be able to get the full project in place. So this requires a lot of forward thinking. The other thing that I kind of like about this idea is that you may be able to extend the life of those trailers a little bit longer if you had to by replacing cartridges inside them. That's still just a patch though, and really what Canyon Regional needs is a permanent solution within the facility. Because I think these are a little bit difficult to operate. I don't think the operators would probably care to hear me saying this right now as a potential solution, but I mean, we're in a bind. The plant has to be able to produce water through 2027.
Well, isn't this a decision for the Hayes Caldwell Group?
Yes.
Well, then you need to bring us together so we can have a consensus on this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Brandon's not going to tell y'all what to do. I just trying to provide some ideas for your group. That's all.
Well, I've heard a lot of good ideas. It's just, the bottom line is always coming down to funding. I'm not a fan of temporary fixes because they tend to wear out more quickly. They don't last as long. I don't know if we get as good a bang for the buck if we're going to buy these trailers, if they're not going to last as long as a permanent structure. they may tide us over, and that may be where we have to go because of the financial constraints. But, you know, I don't know it's such a good idea for the long haul to rely on trailers. That's my opinion.
I think that this is really just comes down to kind of almost a simple math problem, right? Just taking a look at what the rental cost is going to be, how far it gets you to get the permanent fix in place, which is a new building, $15 million potentially.
Well,
Just looking at that math, I think it becomes that
you need
simple.
a no-joke business case, right? You need to know the life of the trailers, cost of the trailers, cost of the permit fix, lay it down there, becomes a math problem, and it becomes a common sense solution. I mean, if we don't lay out a business case, well, then we're just wasting our time. And everyone loses. And in this case, you know, Hayes Caldwell will lose the worst, right? I mean, that's true. But there's ways to do it. We got to do the work.
You know, if it's just, if we don't have to do the St. Marcus water right now, 2 trailers will get us by. It's like Brandon says, then we can go in and strip out the existing building and go in there and retrofit it for the new stuff. And gives you some time or some more rooftops to come in to help pay for some of it over there. You know, that $2 million a trailer is negotiable. It can come down. So when we originally leased, it was 1.5 to purchase it. So there's multiple things that go in there. You know, one of the things is, do you stay with the Paul cartridges and you buy them now, and then you don't have to rebuy them when you get your permanent fix in, you have them there to use from these trailers. That is the biggest expense of the trailer. You know, and yeah, they are a pain. There's not a lot of room in there, which is a good thing for me because I can't fit in there on some of it to work on it. So, but anyhow. But anyhow, that is a solution because we wouldn't have to go borrow some more money right now. We get by what we have. Y'all, just something to think about.
Would the existing Paul cartridges in the trailers be possibly retrofittable into a permanent? Are they interchangeable?
They're the exact same cartridges. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
We could take them and put them into racks inside the building once we got it. Went in and started retrofitting.
So if we didn't have so much wear and tear or life, if they had enough lifespan left, we could use them.
Oh yeah, right. But anyhow, that's one thing to do. But
All right. We'll get a meeting going, set for the Hayes Caldwell group to talk about that and get a plan forward on that. Item 6, Wells Ranch. So on the well upgrade project, no real updates on that. They're still doing the coordination. One thing I wanted to talk about on that, we had the potential change order to move that generator out there at, is it well 5 or well 13, David?
the big one.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the cost of that change order is astronomical, and it puts us right up on the 25% threshold. So I do not recommend that we do that. Now, some of that we have to put in some electrical switch gear to be able to handle the upgrades. So that we do need to include. That's about $70,000. So we'll be, presenting that for approval to move forward with. But the generator, I don't think we should be setting that yet. We don't want to go into a project that hadn't even started construction yet and already have hit 25% threshold on change orders.
Are they the same contractor that bid on the Wells Ranch 3 or Wells Ranch 2 generator project? Are they different contractors?
Different.
Different contractors. So there's potential here to ask for a change order on the emergency generator project that was 3.8 million to move this generator and get it installed.
Yeah,
To include that in
So, might be a solution.
possibly, yeah. Or just make this, if this is one of the more crucial sites that we need backup power, make that one of the first ones, because we talked about a 5-year plan for replacing generators, or installing generators at Wells Ranch. And maybe that's one of the first ones.
Yeah, anytime you can bundle stuff like that together, you're gonna get a better bang for your buck.
Absolutely.
It may be worth a discussion.
The Wells Ranch 3 upgrade project. So we should be getting a preliminary engineering report on that anytime now, to be finalized by the end of this month, that we can share with the group on the infrastructure upgrades needed, as well as cost estimates. There was a number thrown out at the construction committee, very high level number, but we're looking at in the neighborhood of $350 million for these upgrades. That number does not include a pipeline north to the Hayes Caldwell facility. That's just for what's needed, in the Wells Ranch area. So once we get that, we will share that with the group. The Bloomberg project, so the decision was made to separate that out from Wells Ranch 3 and run it as a separate project. Right now, we're requesting a scope of work from STV and also from our hydrogeologist to start doing that preliminary work. We do not have funding for that in this year's budget. So that's another thing that, we need to talk about, with the group on, if we want to start moving this now, how we pay for it now, or do we wait until, the next fiscal year to start doing this work? In my opinion, we need to figure out a way to do it now, because I think that project I think we got a better chance of getting that one permitted sooner and into production than we will the Wells Ranch 3 project.
On the Wells Ranch 3 project, how close are we to being able to submit a permit?
Ooh. I don't have an answer for you right now on that.
I would find that out. We've got James Benet, who's been, I think since the original Wells Ranch project, been with Keenan Regional, and then Trish Carls is the attorney for Keenan Regional on the project, to find out. Again, if we don't know what's going to happen with GBRA's permit, right? That's kind of the thing that's the canary we're waiting for. I would hope that we're prepared to move forward quickly if the canary survives, right? And I think that's where we probably need to be.
Right.
I agree with you 100%. You're doing both projects one way or another. One's just going to happen before the other.
Yeah.
I think that what we need to do differently on this one is get the participation ahead. So the participation agreement, sorry guys, I'm going to take y'all down the history trail, and just cut me off when you're ready, throw something at me. We had talked about potentially doing a participation agreement, but with the way they had to schedule, with the way Keenan Regional had to schedule, within 4 or 5 months, we were going to have the whole water supply contract. And so we said, why do a participation agreement if we're 4 months away from having a water supply contract? So we didn't do it. Well, now we're here 2 years later without a contract and where we are today, which is fine. That's just part of where it went. Let's not do the same thing with Bloomberg. When you figure out what your estimated costs are per year, you have a participation agreement with us. As long as we continue to want to be in the project, we continue funding that. Once we're done with being in that project, hey, no, we don't think this is going to work. You jump out, money lost, that's fine. That's part of doing feasibility. I think that's the best way for us to handle this and keep everyone in the game who needs to be in the game.
I don't disagree, but I have a more fundamental question, right? So, for a few months now, we've been talking about Wells Ranch 3, Bloomberg, right? My fundamental question is who? And I don't mean who, like who participates, who's moving it, right? So what do we need to do to move it, right? Because we talk about it, but who's physically moving it? I mean, do we need to make a recommendation to establish a committee out of the Board of Trustees, or maybe the Board of Managers get tasked, to push this project forward, right? Because what we're doing, we're saying, okay, this is really great. We need this future water contract, and we do. I am counting on in the future for Wells Ranch 3, Bloomberg, to produce an amount of water for me. It's in my calculations. It's in my water acquisition fee calculations everywhere. But I'm afraid we haven't pinned the tail on a donkey, right? And we're turning around to CRWA staff and being incredibly unfair to a very small staff to say, okay, and we keep talking about it, but who? Let's move. Like, do we establish a committee? Do we task the Board of Managers to be on a committee? What do we have to do to get planning? Because I feel like we're stuck in the mud. I mean, I do. And this is not, I'm not hurling any stones at CRWA. You guys are very small, very powerful, right? But I mean, who is the more operative question? Not who is participating, but who's actually developing the project. That makes sense to you guys?
Yeah, I want to say that we, had a project manager that was just hired, and part of the discussion was, project manager, but
Well,
I'd
maybe
like to
so.
know.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I'm ready to roll, guys.
yeah.
Let's roll. I need water. Y'all need water. Let's go.
Well, we're getting scope of work for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the scope and fee, and I mean, I felt like we are moving to that project.
Well,
The next step is, here's how much it's gonna cost, you can pay for it now, or
Yeah.
how do we want to fund it?
Well, maybe we are. I'm certainly not attacking you. I mean,
I'm
no.
not, but I just, other than that, I'm not sure what else could be done. I mean,
Yeah.
the next steps are, we gotta, start actually, doing wastewater with water. They started coordination,
Mhm.
with, Rockland County on. Started that. Wells Ranch 3, Chelsea started to do that. So we'll find out,
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we could do this, and I did not mean to discount any work you're doing, Kerry. Maybe we flip it on its head, right? And when we discuss it, maybe we lay out the things that has been done, right? So everyone could get on the same sheet of music. Like, I just feel like when the topic comes up, right? I don't know about you guys, and I'm soapboxing today. I apologize for that, but it's like the topic comes up and we float it out there. Why don't we float it out there and be like, okay, for Bloomberg, right? These are the 3 things that we've done. This is a report to the board, or to, this is what we're done. I think it would be more helpful. It would reduce my frustration. I know, but y'all don't care about my frustration. I got that. Right. But I mean, it would reduce frustration, I think. It would be a better way to present it.
there was talk about having a committee for this, and believe me, we'll take all the help we can get.
I mean, I
Takes a village, but I don't know where that's at.
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. We had talked about it on the executive committee level about forming a committee and trying to find a makeup of it. We've got a little bit of shakeup going on now, but I'm perfectly fine with having a Bloomberg committee, a Wilcox committee, some group that's solely what they're focused on. And
Well, in general discussion, I'll just, about this topic, right? But it's about governance. I'll just lay it out to you guys now, right? As we sit here today, I don't know, I may be counting wrong, but we got about 5 board of managers members sitting here. We got about 5 of us, right? And it greatly irritates me, right? That everyone comes to the Board of Trustees meeting and no one comes here. And it greatly irritates me that we would establish more committees on the Board of Trustees instead of the Board of Trustees tasking the Board of Managers to look at a problem, right? So why wouldn't the board say, Board of Managers, would y'all look at this problem and give us a report? But in order to do that, we actually have to have some managers that are willing to be on the Board of Managers. I sat here for 9 months and I'm worn out from it. It's like you go to 3 redundant meetings, right? And we don't do anything. So I'm ready for the managers to start managing. This is a good example of something like that. Another one is contracts. I'm really not excited about the Board of Trustees forming a committee for contracts. I'm really not. I would be more excited if the Board of Trustees said, Board of Managers, you dudes that live with the contracts every day, provide recommendations to the Board of Trustees to improve contracts.
And I think there can be a mix of both. I don't think it has to be either or.
I would love it, right? Because we have a construction committee that talks about construction, right? I mean, I'm just saying, guys, I mean, there would be a better way to do it. And I think the board of managers would be the way to do it. I mean, I don't know. Just saying. Because I know Brandon knows more than me. And I'd prefer him tell me in here than in front of the board of trustees.
I don't.
I think you come from a different perspective, and it's a valid perspective. Something that we've been done this way for a while, and there has been a lot of change in the last 3 years, a lot of shakeup, and if everyone here feels that way, but it also has to be the trustees have to feel that way too, because it's not just an us decision. We can sit there and say that all we want to, but or the trustees are the ones that give that direction.
In accordance to the bylaws, right? We don't have any authority to govern, right? It says we have the authority to make recommendations to the general manager and the board of trustees. And I know that because I'm looking at the bylaws, right? I mean, so,
Had them printed out.
yeah, I mean, but I mean, my point is if we're going to make recommendations, let's make recommendations. Let's don't look at the same agenda the board of trustees looks at, right? But we got to get folks to come to the meeting. I mean, what can the board of managers do for people not on the board of managers? There's 14 on the list.
Well, you talked about it, and you're on my soapbox now, which is great. I'm glad someone else is on the soapbox.
Jumping up there with you.
Jumping up here with me on board of managers needs to do more because they used to do more, and then it just tailed off to where it was just getting updates about what happened at the prior trustees meeting, and that's how you get people back. I think what you find is some people who say, "Why am I going to spend the time doing?"
Well, I'll tell you how you get it back, right? Let's put things on the board of managers agenda that matter, right? I mean, if you put on there, hey, what's the water curtailment plan? How are we going to figure this out? Boy, I guarantee we'll have every manager up in here, right? Because it affects their life, right? If we say in here, hey, we're going to talk about the future project of Bloomberg and figure this thing out, right? They'll be here. I mean,
Well,
if you talk about we're going to make recommendations to update our water supply contracts, we'll have a full room.
Well, that's part of the discussion that I had before is I was going to join, I got to the point where I felt comfortable doing more and I wanted to be part of the construction committee, but it sounded as if it was only going to be for trustees to be able to be on that. So I never pursued it. And if that's going to be what the trustees want to do and push for those things, then I can't tell them no.
Yes, you can.
I mean, I can tell them everything I want to.
Yeah.
Once.
Yes, you can. I mean, you can. I mean, we're here to advise the trustees.
Right. And I advise them, but they make the decision.
Of course. I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah, so the construction committee, the challenge we have with board of managers on the construction committee is that the construction committee can actually authorize the issuance of change orders in direction for Canyon Regional. The board of trustees authorizes them up to some amount. I think it's $150,000, maybe $500,000 and stuff like that. And so they didn't want to put board of managers on a board of trustee, allowing them to perform function of board of trustee members, what it came down to ultimately.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
But an advisory group is an advisory group. It's not anything that can
Yeah.
make a decision for a board of trustee. A Wilcox committee made up of board of managers doesn't make a decision for the board of trustees. It just provides recommendations, same as this one.
Mhm.
I'm a board of trustee and I used to be a manager and I totally agree with what you're saying. The managers are the ones that control their entity. The board of trustees come in once a month and vote on whatever it might be, but all the information is fed through the managers. When something happens to an entity, it's not going to be the attorneys having to answer. It's not going to be the trustees because they come and go. The managers take care of it. And that's why I feel that the managers need to make a decision and pass it on to the trustees. That's kind of the way I've looked at it for years, and I still feel that way. But as you say, we're not getting any participation out of managers.
That's right. First statement.
I think the other part of this is you have a lot of knowledgeable individuals that are on the trustee committee as well, or on the trustee board.
Well, maybe they should come to the board managers meeting.
I understand, and I'm not saying you're wrong, and sometimes we do. And I'm playing devil's advocate. I mean, honestly, I don't mind. I'm sitting here having the conversation too.
Yeah.
And some of these things, and I like where your head is sitting there saying, well, let's get a committee for Hayes Caldwell. Those that need to be involved in that discussion need to be in that discussion. Come to the board of managers and say, hey, this is what we're coming up with, this we're thinking. We can give input, but ultimately they're the ones that have to live with the decisions that are being made. And they're the ones that are going to have to send that up to the trustees. And you see what I'm saying? So I don't mind that at all. And people that have skin in the game for those particular areas, they do need to be having those conversations. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the whole group because we don't all need to be involved. But overall, we need to know about what's going on just because it affects other areas too. So we need to take that high level here and here. But I agree with you, when we have those committees of individual groups that have skin in the game, then they need to be pushing those. And then how fast they need to be done. Well, you're going to push it faster if you need it faster, right? So I agree with you. Okay, I'm done.
Well, I didn't mean soapbox either, right? I mean, but it's just, it distracts me, right? You know, and I know I'm still a relatively new guy, but I watched for 9 months and I know we do the same thing. You get the same results. Until you change the way we're doing it, you know, we're not going to get any better results. So I don't, 3 meetings with the same agenda is not helpful.
Well,
Not at all.
already said it.
I mean, not at all. So.
Yeah, it's a progress report, right? It's a progress report.
Yeah, but I can read.
I
can read. You can too. You know,
I already
save time. Yeah. Anyway, that's a good time. I'm sorry, Carrie. I'm totally sidetracking everyone today.
Following up on that discussion, do we want to make recommendations to the board of trustees?
I don't see why not.
I would, my recommendation would be, if you guys would agree with this, I mean, I wouldn't mind if we tried something and said, okay, because here's the problem. I know it's a problem with my directors, right? I mean, they're volunteers. Let's face it. A director is a volunteer. They're an elected official. The more committees we make directors and trustees do, you know, the more time they take out of their lives and their livelihood, right? So it's not always the best solution. I would rather recommend, I would rather be told, I would love for the board of trustees to tell the board of directors to go look at a problem and come back with a recommendation, right? And what that would look like is us coming in here, looking at the problem. And of course, the staff has to do the staff's job, right? I mean, the staff would just have to police that recommendation up and feed it, you know, to the board of, you know, trustees. But I would rather them would just kick it to the board of managers. Y'all chew on this problem and bring back some recommendations instead of forming another committee. Because if you form another committee, then they're volunteers. They're not employees, right? That's my point.
Well, and what we run into is you have just a few trustees who are really, really active, and you have other trustees who aren't active. And so you end up overtasking certain trustee members. Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
All of our boards are different. We have the same problem. Committees are sometimes effective, sometimes not. Depends on who the committee member is. It's just what it is. Anyway, that would be my suggestion. I mean,
I have no issue with the board of managers recommending a committee be formed for evaluating water projects.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
A board of managers committee.
Yeah.
You don't want all 14 doing in this room on the 10th, or is that what you're suggesting? Are you suggesting board of managers in itself as its own 14-member makeup?
Well, I mean,
is
what I'm
the committee?
suggesting is that the trustees, our recommendation to their trustees is like, hey, you direct the board of managers to take a look at this problem. Then the board of managers is an advisory body. We could establish however many people of us that we think is right to look at that problem, right? I mean, because this body is supposed to appoint our own presiding officer.
Yes.
And according to the bylaws, right? I mean, so I don't know why it would be any different than the presiding officer. It could be like, okay, we have this problem. We need to work on it. The trustees told us, I need you, you, and you, and you to help me. So it wouldn't be the whole,
Perfect.
you know, you see what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I'm
It would actually, in my mind, it would function better because it would give you the professionals that work on the entities, looking at a problem that affects the entities, and we give the recommendation to Kerry, and Kerry, in his role as general manager, represents it to the trustees when it's ready for decision. I mean, that could be something better than forming a committee at the trustee level.
Yeah, do you find that to be beneficial to staff, Carrie, to have some managers on a committee that? Okay, then I have no issue with it. Doesn't bother
Yeah,
me.
we'll take all the help we can get. So.
Yeah, it gives you different perspectives too, and things that you may not have thought of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have a path forward.
As long as we're not giving Carrie 14 more bosses.
Well, no, I mean,
Yeah,
that's the idea. No, we don't want to give Kerry more.
Good,
power.
okay.
What we want to do is keep the problems out of the trustees boardroom, right? What we want to do is give solutions so we can have a discussion and a vote, right, at the trustee level. And, and allow CRWA staff to see what our input is before we roll it out there. That's the only reason I jumped on the other topic about curtailment, earlier, because I'm afraid we're going to roll a topic out and people are going to go to their corners, and the general managers haven't even had a forum to discuss the problem as a group, because this is how it works. I tell my board of directors what our position probably should be, right? Just like everyone else does. I mean, that's how it works. So that's my only point.
And a lot of the rough edges could be worked out in here, or with the committee, if you will, for smaller projects or more carteled projects. So when it's going to a vote for the trustees, the people you have the trustees that are all voting on something that still affects a few people, right? But if the people that are screaming, this is what we need to do, then.
They have a voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway.
Let me ask you all this. Given this overall discussion, are we due to just completely revamp this agenda for the board of managers?
Yes. I think so. And I'll answer the question right, and I'll tell you why. Right. So we have a construction committee meeting that gets detailed notes, right? I love it. And I actually have a board member who's very involved, right? And Green Valley knows what's going on in the construction committee, because we have a very good representative. Everyone may not be in the same boat, but that's my boat, right? So to me, to talk about the same projects that I already know about, and most of the time I try to attend when I can, but we've had conflicts. I've not been able to go with Nick, but anyway, I already have that. So to talk about, I would like to be completely different. I would like it to be, what items does the general managers, the board of managers need to talk about that's going to tee up your future agendas, right?
Well, I agree. So,
but we
still got the same.
Can set that agenda too.
We still got the same high level. We're still going to talk about Lake Dunlap, but it's not necessarily going to be an update on a project. It's going to be, hey, here's what decision points we need coming out of this
I think you
meeting.
still want an update from the construction committee.
Yeah, still
One that's the quick that y'all get, that's, a few
Right.
minutes of getting everybody on board.
But
But
then
other
we
than that,
talk
I don't
about
think,
any recommendations needed or any decisions needed from the board of managers.
yeah, I agree. I think we could have a different agenda with different items on it. I don't know what that looks like yet. It looks,
I do too, but it has to be a lot less formal than what a board of trustees meeting is.
Yeah.
Because we've got no voting, right? I know the bylaw says we're a Texas open meeting and all that business, right? I got it. We are. But we don't have to publish the agenda, like 96 hours in advance or whatever for a board of managers meeting, because we have no authority. We're just a recommending body. So I don't know why you couldn't have just updates. And then the things that the board of trustees want the board of managers to look at, that's just general business, like 1, 2, 3. But, if they tell us they want us to look at future water, fine. That's an agenda item that we decided ourselves we want to look at curtailment, right? So that's an agenda item, right? And whatever else you can think of, like whatever opinion you want to have. I really would like to have a discussion about what David has said a couple of times about, pressures and how we're going to do this and the ability to regulate metering stations and stuff. That's something the board of managers should really, really be interested in. If you're not, we should be. That should be an agenda item. I could fill our next month, like right there.
I'm completely good with it. I do think we need a little bit update from the construction committee, just so the board of managers knows
I agree.
what's going on there, but just that high level, quick,
At high level, yeah.
yeah. Make that meeting go from an hour to 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to admit, unless I'm going to a construction meeting, I don't know what's going on in the construction because that information doesn't always get sent back down to my level.
Yeah.
Right. But I have a unique situation where Tim Foose was, the president of the CRWA board. So, I mean, he told me the things he wanted me to focus on but now that's changed. So we have to figure that out.
Okay. Well, I'll take a stab at revamping the agenda, and shoot it out to the group and see.
We need to talk to Justin too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow up with him.
I just don't want to leave him out since he's chairing
Yeah.
and then we made all these decisions.
I mean,
Yeah.
he is chairing it, right?
Yeah.
But you got to be here to chair it. Okay, so I'll call it a spade a spade. I've been in the last 3 or 4 and we haven't had a president. So, and I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just pointing out the fact. You can't be effective if you don't have the people here.
Yeah.
And that's just, sorry, I'll stop my soapbox.
Well,
It's what it is.
hey, and not to be his defender, but I do know he had an emergency today.
I got it. I mean,
So
I'm not attacking. I'm just saying it's very hard to get anything done if you don't have the right people.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any updates on item 7, THM reductions. Other than we did have HDR come in and give us a presentation. Some of the folks here were able to attend, but it's kind of, they had some pretty good information. One of the most interesting things, though, that they said is, you can only do so much at the facility. At some point, you have to go out and into the systems, and I know Canyon Regional staff has been working with some of the staff, to make some operational changes that have helped. But as always, we keep striving to minimize it as much as possible. So nothing really new on that. So on items for the next Board of Managers, the Board of Trustees, so we are going to take the recommendation to them to give direction to the Board of Managers to form a committee to look at water projects. One question I have, and I guess more so for you, Brandon, do we want to pull the item on the curtailment plan from the Board of Trustees meeting for Monday?
I think the trustees had asked for the item to be on the agenda. I just don't know how detailed you get in it unless you have questions about it. You probably don't want to get into this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, just to, if you're asked, a high level, there's a couple entities we're going to get with, talk about maybe some solutions, try and take it back to the Board of Managers to get some more input.
Okay.
I mean, if it was me, I think I'd handle it. I would leave it on there and I would tell my board, I would say, okay, listen, we have this on there. The Board of Managers is going to meet on this and we're going to come up with an agreement on it, pending your questions, right? That's how Phil would do it. And that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's more work to be done. That's my point. I mean, there's more work to
Okay.
be done.
It won't be right now, though. I'm sorry?
There's more work to be done on that. So.
Okay.
And as far as items, don't make Phil say them again. We got them. Items for the next agenda.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll shut up.
No, you're good. And then, just make sure everyone gets their appointments in by May.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but on the curtailment topic, I did the math, Adam, it's 849 acre feet. So my curtailment, from the year takes me from 1,849. So that's what I have to play with. If that plan and figure helps.
Yeah, I'll probably be reaching out to everybody that has additional water, either here at Lake Dunlap or up there at Hayes Caldwell, and see how we can work that into our portfolio. So.
All right. Well, if there are no other items, I think we can adjourn. Thank you, everybody.